All right, so we'll start with the approval of the agenda.
So move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the agenda? All right, all those in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, agenda passes. All right, moving on to comments and suggestions from citizens. Do we have anybody that's not here for the meeting that would like to speak? Guess not. So, again, we have the form online that will get sent to Joe and he'll forward as appropriate for everybody. We do have 2 students I see in the group here. You thought you'd get away so quickly. So, way to be ahead of the game. You're our first students, I think, of the school year. So, you get to state your name, who's your teacher, and let's go with favorite subject / activity associated with school.
I'm Courtney
You need to
Nelson.
stand up though too.
I'm Courtney Nelson. My teacher is Eric Lenz, and my favorite subject is math. I'm Jada Nyber. My teacher's also Mr. Lenz, and my favorite subject's probably math too.
Wow,
I like that.
I don't get math too often here.
Math person.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Good for you.
Good for you.
All right, so thank you for that. Moving on to consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the items in the consent agenda? I think it's just have note, I guess, the discipline report from Ed White from the elementaries. We already discussed it, but it wasn't included as part of the packet, so we just included that in with the consent agenda here. So, just as a note.
I just had a question. Do you know about just some details about the mental health? Seems like a great program. We're sending some people for training. Can you just elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, with the grant that we received a year ago from the federal money, the ESSER money, that just we're able to send people to different things. And so the Scanlon Center from the University of Iowa is all set up as a center to help schools and provide resources and trainings within mental health. And so they're kind of becoming the regional hub for mental health for schools.
Thanks. Seems like a good. Four folks are going to it. So.
Actually, it was a different grant. It was a grant specifically for paraeducators to also be trained with that. So different than the other one we received.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
I should have read it. The partnership between the Mississippi Valley Fair Board and North Scott.
That's for the summer for FFA going through.
Oh.
We approve it every year.
Sure, thank you.
All right.
Like I said, I should have read it. My mistake.
All right, so all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, consent agenda is approved. Moving on to recognitions. Jody, I think this is
Yes, and we have a very special lady here tonight to recognize. We, as a school board, we have recognition for people that go above and beyond. A lot of people do a lot of things in our district, but it's truly for folks that we know just do something pretty extra special, and we know that they're living our mission, our values, our principles at North Scott. So we are honored to present the Lancer Pride Award tonight to Marlene Bangman. She's here tonight. Marlene, I want to say a few things about you. This award is for someone that is always having a positive influence on inspiring and leaving a lasting impression through our work every day. And Marlene has been a volunteer at Neil Armstrong Elementary since 2001. She has twin granddaughters. When they entered kindergarten is when you started, I believe, to be an aide.
Mm-hmm.
And she has a wonderful teacher she works with, Carolyn Lewis, who nominated you. And there are many people that would have, but I mean, she's definitely did. But because of your patience and love for children and your integrity and your wit, you make a big difference in the elementary school and the kindergarten at Neil Armstrong. And I know that the whole staff thanks you. The staff loves you, the kids love you. Carolyn, I know when we were there for your birthday, Carolyn was saying that, Miss Lucette was saying that sometimes she can't find you and you're sitting on the floor with the kids. Hanging out, playing with them and hanging out with them. It's like, where's Marlene? If she's on the floor. And she gets lots of hugs from them, I know.
Yes, I do.
So, and you've been married, your husband's here tonight,
Mhm.
and his name is?
Dale.
Dale, for 71 years.
Yes,
Wow. And you have 4 children,
yes.
and when Miss Lewis asked you how many grandkids and great-grandkids you had, you said 14 and 17, but there could be more today. So we'll keep us posted on that, will you? So we're very lucky to have a very, very dedicated volunteer in Marlene, and we thank you so much.
Thank you.
Here's a little pen for you. For all you do. Carolyn, you get up here.
Thank you. Oh, gosh.
If there's, I'll take this picture.
Okay, great.
Get up there, put her in the middle. Marlene.
You should just sit on the
You
floor.
tonight. I can't get up, I mean, you.
I can't. All right, here, I'll just get one. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Good, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Would any board members like to say a few extra things about Marlene?
Just want to thank you, Marlene, for all that. My kids went here through Armstrong. I just want to thank you for all of your days, years of service, and we know the kids appreciate it.
Very much so.
I also want to thank you for going above and beyond. I mean, that's a long time and it's much appreciated, and we really appreciate everything that you've done for our children. Thank you.
It's been my pleasure
Oh, good.
working with this gal.
I know.
I first worked with Joyce Orcott.
Oh, sure.
When she retired, then I snuck in.
I
there.
adopted her. It was hard to take, huh?
You're a
Thank you
true
so
role
much
model.
for this.
Yes, thank you,
Good
Marlene.
job.
Thanks so much for letting me have you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You don't have to speak up. You got an award. You have to-
You'll have a good one.
Thank you, thanks to y'all for coming.
All right, next section is bills. Jill?
Okay, I have $2,178,932 worth of bills presented for approval for payment. In there, you'll see a payment to Pro Track and Tennis for $55,850 for tennis court resurfacing and crack repair of 6 courts. A payment to Till 360 for $5,000. That was for an educational speaker that will be paid with the mental health gear grant funds. And a final payment, I believe, to Bloom for $141,517 for the junior high audio enhancement center system. Actually, I think there's a little bit left, not quite final. Thank you.
Motion to pay the bills?
Motion, can I get a second? Motion second, any discussion on the bills? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of approving the bills, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, bills are passed.
Just a question to Joe, I know that we only did 6 of the courts, are they gonna plan on doing the other 6?
No,
or
they did
they
last
already-
6 last year.
Okay.
So all of them are done now, so it'll be probably good for another 10 to 15 years, so. The track will be the next resurfacing that we need to do.
Okay.
All right, moving on to reports. Tim,
Yep.
you know?
All right. Well, thank you. I have Jill Peckenschneider here. She's going to be presenting with us as well. For those of you that aren't aware, she was at the high school, and I was able to. We had a position open. We were lucky enough to be able to have her come down and work with some younger kids here. So I think there's been, a big difference from the high school kids down to the littles. But she's done an amazing job so far, just getting used to us and just working with the kids. So just wanted to introduce her as well.
And Tim, I just got told this recently, they don't like to be called littles,
Okay.
just from my house. I don't know what
Okay.
they want to be called, they're just not littles. But I totally
Younger
get it.
kids?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
So they must
That was a
be
big
older
to-do.
than-
So they
at my
must be
house.
older.
There's a big to-do at my house.
All right. So we're going to talk to you guys a little bit about what all the buildings are doing this year to address the social emotional health at all the building levels. We know last year that there was a lot of talk about SAMI and how much emphasis was placed on that social emotional health. So we wanted, and a lot of that work came down to the counselors and what they were, a lot of responsibilities fall on the counselors. So we're looking at what can we do to help support the social emotional needs of our students, and then also take some of that burden off of the amount of work that was needed from the counselor's standpoint, because there was so much emphasis placed on that. We know that's an ever-growing, demanding need, and what can we do to best support our kids, not just academically, but socially, emotionally as well. So this is what we've put together, and our teachers have shared and started the work on this year already at that tier 1 level. You guys are already familiar with tier 1 is what everybody's getting. So this is that general thing that we created those expectations across the district from the elementary and what they're doing at that level. So we're going to go into some detail about that. I've also caught a cool glimpse of one of our teachers doing some of this already. I caught it on Friday, kind of off the whim, and I'm gonna show you that. You're gonna love it. It's fantastic. So excited for you to see that. Again, our intended outcomes of this are to recognize the need for class meetings, understand the district-wide expectations for facilitating class meetings. So we're going to talk a little bit more about what are those class meetings. We can talk about how our day's going, but what are those greater needs that our teachers are looking for, and what are our students needing? How do we reinforce that learning? And then plan and implement purposeful class meeting. What does that look like? So we'll get into that a little bit. Why class meetings? Just like what I mentioned before, through our SAMI work, we recognize there is a huge need for that. What are our kids needing, and how are we addressing it while also supporting the counselors in our buildings? Strengthening our tier 1, building stronger brains. This was a great, building stronger brains last year was just kind of that tip, right? Where our teachers all got trained in building stronger brains, and then what are we doing beyond that, right? We went to this training, and what can we do to continue to build off of that? We did that poverty simulation, which I think was great, and then how do we continue to build off of that from our class meetings? I think that poverty simulation kind of gave it a tidbit as to what some of our students might be coming to our buildings every day thinking or not thinking about, and how do we tie into that and capture that through our class meetings. Again, we've always strived this. I feel like I'm in a weird spot, guys, so I don't want to put my back to anybody, so I apologize for that. So the importance of, we've always strived this. What's that importance of that relationship, that resilience and skills to support student development? We place a huge emphasis on those relationships with our kids, and how do we continue to grow those relationships through our class meetings, getting to know those kids at even a deeper level than what we had before, and how do we continue their student development? Again, those experiences, in the video that we'll show halfway through here, how are we improving those experiences that our kids are having? How are we getting our kids to open up and feel that welcoming environment, that family environment that we all strive for when they come to school? And then increase student engagement and voice. If the kids, if they have that relationship and they're engaged and they're involved, we're going to get better outcomes academically for them. They're going to feel safer in school, and they're going to want to be here. And also that clarity and consistency for school-wide expectations. When you walk around our building here, we have our PBIS expectations. What are those expectations? And how are we following through with them? And then how are we reinforcing that and teaching those to our kids as well? So those are all things as to why we have these class meetings. So previously, you may have heard it like morning meetings. Some of us might be familiar with morning meetings. We just took that and adapted it because not everybody can have a morning meeting because of schedules and so on and so forth. So we just identified it as class meetings. So that's why if you're recognizing some similarities between morning meetings and class meetings, it's the exact same thing, just at a different time of the day. But the intended purpose is to set a tone of respect and engaged learning in a climate of trust, build and enhance connections among students, and between students and teachers. Again, that relationship is just huge for those kids. Merging those academic and social and emotional learning, motivate students by addressing the human need to feel a sense of significant belonging and to have fun. We all know that as soon as students feel that sense of belonging, that we're gonna be able to get more out of them. When people are comfortable, right? I look at Google, they got people who feel comfortable and they're gonna get a great product, right? For the most part, there's always a couple of things. But for the most part, they feel comfortable in their environment. How are we doing that as well? And how are we getting our students to have fun with their learning and what's going on during this time? And that's what we want to continue to address, is that students feeling comfortable in our environment and wanting to be here. Have that thing to look forward to. And again, through the repetition of many ordinary moments, respectful interaction enables some of the extraordinary moments. So again, just having those moments, and you're gonna see that in our little video here. Yep.
Okay, so district-wide, there was some tightening those expectations set out for teachers through those classroom meetings. So it's a minimum of 3 times a week from 15 to 30 minutes, and it's dependent on the teacher, what time of day, and exactly the length that they have these classroom meetings. And then there were 2 frameworks introduced to students or reintroduced to teachers. They can either have the morning meeting framework or circles. And then, so topics are proactive and reactive. It depends on what's going on in the classroom. I've had several teachers reach out to me at Armstrong, and they tie their morning meeting at least once a week to the standard that we're doing in our SEL lessons. So I'm in the classroom for half an hour in each classroom each week doing a social emotional learning topic. So some of them so far this year have been like self-advocacy, positive self-talk, and self-control. Like, do we blurt out? How do you control yourself within the classroom? And so they frequently draw on our competencies. The 4 SEL competencies are social awareness, responsible decision making, healthy relationships, and self-management. And so they can be timely and responsive. They've even kind of, the special teachers at Armstrong have reached out and said, hey, if I'm really struggling with a class staying on task in library, is it okay if I pop into a classroom meeting, so we can build that relationship with the librarian within that classroom, so they can have a more positive class next time they're in the library. So it's really neat seeing the teachers collaborate and just strengthen the relationships with students during those morning meetings or classroom meetings. For the video.
Yep, just click. Yeah, I didn't know that. Sorry. All right. Nope, it's on the next one. All
Okay,
right.
so this was an example of the
Yep.
first framework, the morning meeting. So greeting, it's really fun to see some of the greetings in the morning when the kids come in from the blacktop. Some kids are really creative, and there's smiles and excitement all around. That's one thing that is way different from the high school to the elementary level. The high school kids are a little bit sleepier in the morning. Sharing, so some common things are my favorite food is, or my favorite pizza topping is, but it changes obviously every classroom meeting. And then a group activity, some common ones are like Simon says, hot and cold, or would you rather. And then the meat of the morning meeting is the morning message, which is that proactive or reactive component that the teachers are trying to get across to the day. I think that's
Perfect. Yep. All right. All right. So the morning meeting book is where we got a lot of our resources for this and ideas for our teachers. So we're still working on what are those ideas for those morning meetings. What are those main topics that we're getting at? What is our data? What is our discipline data indicating that we should be working on? Where's our focus? And then creating those lessons around that for our teachers to have those meaningful conversations. I had a link in here of somebody else doing a morning meeting, but I thought let's get one of our own teachers to do it. And I was going through Emily Scott's classroom, and if you know Emily, she has a ton of enthusiasm, right? So I walked by and I saw hers, and I'm like, hey, can I come in tomorrow and just quick record this? And she, of course, she was all game on that for this, but this was on Friday, and it was fantastic. So, here we go.
All right, so let's have Jeremiah. Why don't you come in the middle? Are we ready, team? Here we go. The rules, the rules, the rules of the classroom. The rules, the rules, the rules of the classroom. Rule number 1, follow directions quickly. Rule number 2, raise your hand for permission to speak. Rule number 3, raise your hand for permission to leave your seat. Rule number 4, make smart choices. Rule number 5, make your dear teacher happy. We have strong minds, we are important, we are so loved, we are wonders. Okay, wonders, when I say go, you are going to give your partner a peace sign, say good morning in their name, remember to look them in the eye, and then we're done. Okay, ready? Turn. Here, good morning. Ready? Good morning, Kari.
Good morning, Miss Fry. Good morning,
All right, and then crisscross applesauce. We'll get ready to share.
All right, so that was just an introduction to their day, right, before they get into their lesson. But you can see it was enthusiastic, the kids wanted to be there, and they were ready to go. And then after they did their introduction and that, then they were able to talk about the meat and potatoes of their lesson of that day. So just wanted to get into a snippet of that to show you guys what that looks like. Again, when you saw that in the circles, sorry, maybe not.
touch.
There we go. All right. So some of the things that you may have saw was that quick check-in, go around, see that everyone has an opportunity there to contribute. They did quick mixer, a game that everyone mixes up around, opportunities to work with other people. The central activity was what they were going to be getting into. There was a debrief after they go through their central activity. They'll discuss and talk about what they did. There could be an energizer, just a quick game to increase learning levels or energy levels, and then just to check out, how are you doing today? And what we did when we shared this with the teachers is that we really organized our beginning couple days with our staff to replicate what these different frameworks and these circles look like with our staff. So we did energizers, we did the central activity, we did the mixers, we did all those things to help model that for our teachers and implemented that those first couple days, which was really powerful when they didn't know we were doing it at the time, but those first days, this is what we did. We followed this script for the most part of what these different categories are. And then when we shared it with them the next day, we were able to say, hey, you remember when we did this yesterday? Yeah, that was that mixer. Yep. That was that checkout, or that was that energizer. So we put this into practice, and this was done at all the buildings and all the building levels, which was really cool for us to work on and put that into play. So things that we modeled for our staff. I don't know if it's slow
Hit it a couple more times.
or what's that?
Hit it a couple more times.
There we go. All right. So again, the role of facilitator is not to teach, but to manage the flow of the proceedings while avoiding taking control. To teach as defined as a cause of acquired knowledge of a skill in some field, but not to facilitate as defined as to free from the obstruction of difficulties. So what that was.
Let me makes you feel any better, Tim, it's slow on my.
I was like, well.
It's like 14 clicks to the next one. Seriously. Keep going.
Tim, do they share ideas, teachers, like if, like?
Yeah.
If Scott can tell some of the other teachers, I do this in the morning, or they'll
So,
share?
yeah, absolutely. So we do have a document that we've started, right? And then we're like, what are the same things that you're already doing, right? That some of us may have been familiar, some of us were more familiar with others, but we wanted to have that standard across the board, like these are our expectations. Some people are more familiar with it than others, and those people that have already started it, yes, there's a document with resources that they are doing. And then on the 9th, that's one of the things that we're gonna be doing as well, is revisiting that. Hey, since you've been doing it now for a little over a month now, what are some ideas that you have that you can add to this document so that other people can jump in and grab a hold on as well?
And is this school-wide or district-wide?
This is district-wide for all the elementary, so all the elementary buildings are doing this.
So all the 6th graders would be kind of doing the same?
They're doing the morning meetings, yep, they're doing the morning meetings. Now, it's gonna look different for 1st grade, like what we saw here for 6th grade, but everybody's doing something in that same capacity. They're meeting 3 to 5 times a week, they're having group discussion, and how are we re-energizing those kids to be in school
And to start it all, was there guidelines that you kind of wanted to accomplish?
So yeah, we really wanted to tap into that social emotional health, right? And by doing that, so we drew upon a couple different books here and use that as our framework and our guide to help lead us as well as we are organizing this and tying into building stronger brains, and then also putting this into play to support our counselors as well, because we know so much emphasis through the SAMI work was placed on them and the student social emotional well-being as well.
Nice.
So
putting it to a song helps you remember too.
Yeah. So again,
I think part of it too came from the Conditions for Learning survey, and the students' sense of belonging and their emotional safety was really low statewide, not only in North Scott. So I think that's like last year we started talking about that too. How can we create that sense of belonging and increase students' emotional safety within the building?
Having a partner come up to you and say good morning and.
but it's such a life skill too, right?
Yeah.
It's such a life skill when you go in to talk to somebody, you know, we know how to do that, but we need to make sure that we're reinforcing that and teaching that, how to address somebody appropriately in the morning by just saying hello, right? And just those little skills. And then I love how she incorporates you know, that enthusiastic morning and just reviewing the quick rules. You know, at that age, it's hard for them to remember a lot of things, but if they can remember those simple things of how her classroom needs to operate for them to be effective and to get the best education possible, and that those are the things that work best for her, then she's able to do that and reinforce that. And it was fun, it was exciting, and it, you know, had me ready, re-energized, ready to go as well.
I didn't see you in the circle.
I had a video.
Oh,
right.
Somebody's got to take the pictures. Okay, all right.
I've stepped in on my fair share of first grade circles, though. I know that they'll incorporate different strategies. How to, you know, from breathing techniques or different ways when you're feeling anxious or you're feeling upset. You're feeling stressed out. What's a better way to release that energy in a positive way instead of something negative? So those are all just different things, and how we're, you know, reinforcing different areas that might need different structure throughout the day. That could be the cafeteria, that can be the hallway, it can be recess, it can be just walking into the bathroom. So those things.
Tim, I imagine also helps with the number of students you rotate in this building, that it helps a new student come on board and get to know what our expectations are when we do those meetings too.
For sure, yep. I mean, it's good for one kid, it's good for all kids, but especially those that, just like what Joe said, we have 70 to 80 kids move in and move out over the course of a year. And the one thing that they want to know is, what are those knowns, right? When kids feel comfortable. If you got a kid that comes in and they're not comfortable with what's going on, we're not going to get the best academic performance out of them. So how do we get them to feel comfortable within our own buildings first, so that we get the best out of them academically as well? And that's why that's the whole premise with PBIS as well, with those known expectations in the hallway, the bathroom, the classrooms, all those. What are those expectations? As soon as we know those things, the better they're going to feel and more comfortable, and again, we can get more out of them academically.
Why can't we carry this on to the high school?
That's a high school question. That's a high school question.
I know, you get hugs there, right?
Yeah.
To tag on what you're saying, Joy, I think
It's true.
in the workforce that, like, for my generation, this is missing, and I think it's something that I've taken some team building with some of my coworkers too, is that you need to, instead of do, which is kind of the American way, you need to take a step back and just ask people how they're doing. And so it's kind of being more purposeful and kind of being lighter rather than just going to work and putting your nose down and just working all the time. I think that this is a great example to build in our younger generations of, this is how we start our day, you know.
Yeah.
I think it's really good.
Yeah, I'm half laughing, but it's true. I mean, say something good about your partner today, whatever.
Yeah, and that was just that day, right? Or-
Right.
Yeah, say something good.
And smile at people.
I also think too, you know, Joe said it's kind of good to get people integrated into, you know, the norms for the school, but it's also good for those kids too, I would think, to get to know the rest of the kids in their classroom a lot quicker than it is to just kind of show up and sit at your desk and.
You're the new kid, there you are,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
but instead of, you know, she was sitting in that circle, right? And,
Yeah.
and think of, like, when you were working with those teams, I know we model those circles when we're doing our work with, the diversity group, right? When we're talking about things serious, there's nothing that's in our way impeding us, right? We don't even have a table in front of us. Laura Gray, I'm sorry, that was her name. We're sitting in circles, right? Just like that. And so we're breaking down barriers by having nothing in front of us so that we are more open to talk. Where we know that, you know, they will incorporate a talking piece. They will incorporate those things. This is just a couple weeks in for some first graders, and I thought, hey, this is pretty good. So I just wanted to get a snippet of that on that for you guys.
Good
So,
job.
yeah. So,
Be interesting to see what your intermediate grades do compared to your primary grades, because in primary
Yeah.
grades, you can get little younger kids
Mm-hmm.
excited about little things.
yeah.
Where then you get into the intermediate, they become a little bit more personal
Sure.
or personal,
Yep.
and trying to get them to open up is a lot
To be
more
vulnerable,
difficult.
right? Yeah.
So,
How do you
More
open them up
reserved.
and
yeah.
have those meaningful conversations and get that to be a
'Cause
safe
I can't
space?
see a sixth grade class doing what,
Nah.
you know, Emily did with, and depending on the teacher, you never
Yeah.
know, but.
Yeah, but I think we're also at that point to where they can have those more meaningful conversations too,
Right.
and get the bigger picture of that, hopefully, and take that to their next level as well. So those are all things that we get to dive into and hopefully see the net results, right? Because
Sure.
this is all done for that social emotional health and behaviors as well, right? We all know that's something that's going on, and how do we address those things while making school more, you know, more comfortable for those kids and making it a safer space. They know they can go reach out to somebody,
Sense of belonging.
for sure.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, Jim.
That was great.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Right. Moving on to curriculum cabinet for committee reports. Nicole?
Yeah, so this was the first meeting of the year. You can see there in the agenda, we spent a fair amount of time talking about MTSS, like Tim mentioned, the SAMIs that were done last year, and we're starting to do those this year as well. So we just spent time talking about who should be thinking about MTSS at the district level, what team should that be, what might that look like. So that's just a conversation that we'll continue to have. I'll bring back some more information on what that might look like to have a district MTSS team. All of the building staff on it, they're all evaluating themselves. So I thought that was an important conversation to have with them. And then we talked about the strategic plan and how that relates to the curriculum cabinet and what our work might look like through some of those pieces. And then we took a very brief look at EVOS. It's a new tool that the state has put out to analyze our ISAF data. There's more training to come, so it was very, very brief. Just wanted them to know that was out there. And then the teams broke up and talked about their big rocks for the year, K-6 and then 7-12. Still standards-based grading, and then the workshop model, and some of the new literacy learning that K-6 is going to be doing.
The EVOS that you said there, is that basically doing it so that we don't have to manually make spreadsheets and analyze and reanalyze and do all that stuff? What's the premise for that?
Yeah, it's just helping us look at the data in a different way. I really only know this much about it so far. Yeah, there's some training
EVOS
coming
is
in.
for, maybe I'm gonna get this backwards, for wide look
Right.
Where Panorama can get us down to individual
Okay.
ones.
Yeah,
The state's
yeah.
invested in 2 systems.
Yeah, this
and
is a big
so,
picture.
Yeah,
That are
this would be
both
the
new.
big picture one, yes.
Okay,
And
of
they don't
course.
let us in, we'd love them to let us import all of our own local data, because then we could see the picture
The
we wanna see,
correlation.
but they don't.
Right,
So-
yeah. And, and I didn't show this to them, I didn't have it yet, but Keystone and, Central Rivers AEAs, both, they have someone who knows a lot more about spreadsheets than I do, make a really nice spreadsheet that we can just drop our ISACs data into, and it provides us a great deal of information about DOK, and we can just disaggregate our data in a lot of ways, so I just did that this evening, so I'll be able to show that to you, in the next
Awesome.
couple of meetings, so, yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Any other questions for Nicole?
Thanks, Nicole. Yeah.
Good job.
Thank you. First curriculum cabinet report out is done. So,
And first meeting.
Do we offer a data analytics class for our computer science folks? Maybe we should look into that, so we could take all that data and
Yeah.
create some lakes and reporting and stuff.
get some trends. All
Let's
right,
go.
facility committee, Joe?
Yeah, facility committee actually met on 2 days, because we did go over quite a bit of stuff. We went in depth on the Vision 25 projects, where either they were at in the construction process, and then also what does the budgets look like for the other ones. And then we took a look at our summer projects from last summer, had discussions on those. And then projects 33 and 36, where we fund most of our building projects out of, so Pebble and the 1 cent sales tax. Jill did a good job and actually put a third spreadsheet together we call our capital projects, so you can see it all in one. And Jill went through all of that with the committee. And then talked about, it's an ad hoc committee, and so part of our strategic plan is take a look at our committee structure, and this would be one of them for the overall board to say, we're gonna continue it as a permanent committee, what then is its purpose, how often should it meet, that type of thing.
And those are some of the things we're gonna talk about, the follow-on, our strategic plan meeting.
Correct,
too,
yes,
so.
yep.
Okay. Any other questions on facility committee meeting? All right, no old business, and now we're on to new business, and it looks like, Jill, it's that time of year again for some resolutions and public hearing settings and
Yeah.
all that fun stuff.
So we have a resolution included in the board agenda for flexibility. September 15th was our deadline to close out June 30th, 2023. So we know some of those final numbers there. And it looks like we have a residual balance. In the homeschool assistance program, I'd recommend $20,000, and then the TLC program for $130,000. Tonight, just looking to set the public hearing for October regarding that.
And I would just add that it doesn't take all of the money out of either of those 2 accounts. And this will be the 3rd year we've done it, and there were other accounts that we've taken from in the past that we're spending the money now, so, which we should, right? We should be budgeting and we should be spending it in the fiscal year. So I could see over time that we may not get much more flex opportunities. The goal for this would be to help outfit some remodelings that we had this past summer for furniture, especially the 2 teacher workrooms at John Glenn and Berta Grissom. They just have their old furniture put back in there, which was already mixed match stuff. And then Alan Shepard's additions and getting that furnished too. So then we'll see where the money goes from there, how much that takes.
You need a motion?
Yes.
Make a motion for a public hearing on October 9, 2023.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion on setting the public hearing date? All right, all those in favor of approving the hearing date as motioned, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, we have our public hearing set. And moving on to the SPED deficit, Jill?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we closed out the end of the year. Part of that is filing these reports with the state as well. This year, our special education revenues were $5.9 million and our expenditures were $6.7 million, which actually resulted in a deficit of $810,000. We've averaged around 400, the last several years I've been here. It used to hover around the 800s. I was reflecting back upon it. There was a lot of board meetings where we added staff due to need, right? It really is primarily due to personnel. Bree and I went back and we looked, and we had 8 special ed, either teachers or aides that were new hires, new ads, or increased their time that they were working on special ed duties. So those funds were reassigned to that then when we did that. We also had equipment purchases for individual high-need students that were over $20,000 more than they were in the past. Our tuition out increased almost $100,000 from the prior year. Again, high-end kids based on need, and our contracted services as well, hearing interpreters and stuff like that. So it wasn't just one thing; it was several things that added to it. Personnel and benefits being the largest one. But we have to service, as you know, those children. But the state does allow us to increase our spending authority for that and ask for a modified supplemental amount for that dollar amount. So I would recommend that we do that with board approval this evening. And just a side note, it's not going to affect our budget next year or our tax rate, right? We'll balance all of that out. It just gives us the authority to spend the money. But if you got any questions, I can answer those else this evening. I was asking for board approval for the MSA.
Would you say, Jill, that the larger portion of this is coming from more needier kids? So we provide the services, therefore we have to hire individuals? I mean, you said it was personnel, and the only reason we're gonna have personnel is if we have more, because each teacher has a limit of how many.
I think that's part of it too, but part of it's the labor shortage. You know, where we would have gotten by with some of those kids with 5.5 hours, so you wouldn't have had a health
Right,
benefit,
so
that's
yeah,
another
yeah.
10 grand. We've had to make a lot of them go to full time just to cover the needs of the kids that we had.
And then we have needier kids and we have to send them someplace else,
That does,
cost
and
too.
as I remember, the count is from the year before, and I think our count was actually down the year before, but yet then the kids moved in. So the money's delayed a year, so you know,
Sure.
we may be much better off next year just because our count may have went up last year or something. So all that plays into it, but the labor shortage it's costing us a lot more because we have more full-time positions today than we've ever had.
Sure.
But we need to do it to
So a way to, and we still can't find enough. We still are 1 or 2 associates that we'd like to hire. We're 2 special ed teachers short this year, right now, so.
Increasing $800,000, I looked to, only increases our unspent authorized budget as a percentage of our max by 1%. I mean, it's not gonna skew like any of our year-end key figures that we look at either. So I think taking a big picture look at it, I recommend.
I mean, we plan for a lot of this, for it,
Yeah.
always.
Make a motion that we accept the special ed deficit increase, I guess, supplement.
Second.
All right, so motion seconded. Any further discussion on this?
Well, I just know that you really watch this very carefully and closely, and I appreciate that, because it's a lot of moving parts to this.
Fluctuates every year, doesn't it?
It does.
I mean, equipment to, yeah.
It's a lot in 1 year, and we haven't seen that for a lot of years. There was a lot of things that just went all in the wrong direction in 1 year.
Thank you for that, for those statements.
Yeah, thank you, Jim.
All right, motion seconded, and all those in favor of approving, the special ed adjustment, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, motion passes. Moving on to superintendent's report. Joe?
All right, we had the board election. Tuesday is the last day that anybody can withdraw by 5 p.m. Otherwise, the election is November 7th. We have 5 candidates for 4 positions. School board convention. I know Trina's heard from a few people, but please let her know in the next couple of weeks, are you planning on going or not, so we can make plans and then get people signed up. I know Frank will be there all day on Wednesday, and there is some pre-conference on Wednesday afternoon. Some of us have gone to, and then of course Thursday is a full day. And then let her know if you're staying down there or driving down that morning. I know you normally drive down if
Right.
you go. So.
Right, I plan on doing that again.
Okay. And then Vision 25 update, the softball field, if you haven't been by it, the press box is set. it is, you know, we're probably 90% done. There's a lot of fencing work still to be done. They put in half the layer of the parking lot today, so tomorrow they'll finish the parking lot, because all the heavy equipment's done being used, and now it's just wrapping up the concessions, restrooms, a few details around there. So again, next 30 days they should be out of there, and that project should be complete. At Allen Shepherd, they started setting the steel, so the roof will start going on, which is nice. The weather sure would be helpful if it would dry back out again, because that holds up. We have a little bit of masonry work left to do, and every time it rains, then it delays them. But it's nice to see that roof going on there. And then hopefully in the next week or so, we'll start putting in the foundations out at the regional center. And so that's the hope for that. The other ones, you know, we have some bidding going on right now, and the rest of them will be in line to go to bid here in the next couple months. And so moving forward with that. Student count, just to talk a little bit about student count. Obviously, the official day is October 1st, but I was doing, you know, just some projections. So right now, the elementary is at minus 29 kids. Now, we're talking students in seats. Remember, we brought in 205 kindergartners, and we took out 262 sixth graders, right? And so there's a big difference. Our two lowest class are kindergarten and first grade. 7th and 8th grade are our two largest. But the high school and the junior high are both up plus 20 kids. So overall, we'll have more kids in seat. What we don't know is well, I would say it probably doesn't look like we'll be up kids in seats on who live in our district, because we have 95 students open enroll in and 16 open enrolling out. So that's an 80 gap of this year. I also don't have calculated in how many seniors left too, right? That's part of that mix too. And so we'll look at it, but we're definitely going to be again on the positive side of open enrollment. But after October 1st, that's when it opens up, and it has to be closed by the 15th. So by our second board meeting of October, we will know for sure. Of course, that's the first big piece of the puzzle for next year's budget. And so, so things look, obviously kids in seat, things look good for us. Whether our count ends up that way or not, special ed, it matters whether that count weighting is up or down, how many concurrent courses are being taken. It's a really complicated formula that actually gets our total funding. So
did you say we have 98 enrollment in?
we have 95 in and 16 out right now on the list.
And that does not count towards students that's in seats.
Well, those 95 are kids in seats. So
Okay.
when I gave you minus 29 plus 20 plus
That
20,
includes-
it's over 20. That includes open enrollment kids. Remember, we don't count open enrollment kids in on our state count. We count open enroll out kids. And so it gets to be really
It is
complicated.
confusing.
So are they just, because I thought we were at about 200 open enrollment.
No, that's just new this year.
Okay.
I'm just talking about this year. No. We're gonna be probably 300 plus kids open enrolled in.
Okay.
And so, yeah, but.
So you're talking
but
about new.
I'm just talking about brand new
Okay.
kids who open enrolled this year is
So
95.
a third of that is new kids this year.
Correct, 95 and 16, so, you know, a gap up to
Right.
80 of, down whatever. So 95 minus 16, that's our gap factor. What was
Thank
it,
you.
79? 79,
Our
thank you.
financial person.
And so anyway, but, and we'll see, again, that doesn't have seniors in there, so that 79 might only be 59, because we might have graduated 20 seniors or
Right.
10 seniors who were open enrolled in too, so you lose those
Gotcha.
off of that, so.
And once they're, an open enroll kid is considered open enrolled for all 4 years they're here, it's not one.
Correct, we
Right,
don't
it's
make them reapply, yes.
Not reapply, but they're still counted as open enrolled.
Yeah, unless they move in or move back, and it's weird though now, remember, because there's no deadline, it's, if they leave us, that they have to recalculate the whole thing. It's almost like a per day what you get them for now. Just because they were here today doesn't mean they're gonna be here tomorrow because of open enrollment deadlines. And so, and that number could go up too. By next board meeting, I might have 3 requests to come in still this year. So then we'd be raising, 98 becomes, 102 or whatever, so, yeah.
We did have a denial though, right?
Oh, we do have one denial. We're closed for special ed. We're short 2 special ed teachers. We have no room for special ed. So if you see the denials at special ed, we have a number of elementary classrooms which we deny, but there's always a classroom somewhere in the district at every grade level at the elementary where they could come. So we have capacity for that. I was looking, I got the history book that the library did on our school. In 1979, we had 4,122 kids in the North Scott School District. So almost 1,000 more than we do now. Back then, they didn't have mental health, they didn't have special education, they didn't have all the extra things that we have, computer labs, or, you know, all the different things you think we do today, they did not do in 1979. And so our buildings, to hold 4,100 students and all the special services would be really, really tight, because they just didn't have them back then. It was all classroom space for the most part. So there is a difference between what we do today and what they did in 1979. There's a big difference.
I was gonna say.
And then
Capital
yeah,
was here
that
then.
was the height. After that, it started slowly going down, and then it plummeted in 1984, 85, 86. I mean, it just sank fast. And so.
9 pages were added to the requirements of staff too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's,
Yeah,
how many sheets
only
is it
nine.
now?
Yeah.
12 sheets of.
And then I did have down who's walking the parade, but Tracy, you're gonna send out something
Yes,
just to
I will.
confirm for that. We are planning a full scale exercise for school safety next summer. We're working with Scott County Management. We're working with our local police department, fire department, EMTs, where we will do like an active shooter type sometime in June. We'll be doing after the first year some tabletops. We've invited the neighboring districts. Davenport showed up for the first one, just so they're sitting in and learning from that too. And then the goal would be every 1 or 2 years, one of the districts in Scott County would be doing a full-scale exercise to help keep people trained up and stuff. But ours will be doing it this summer. So Aaron Schwartz is leading that one. And then that's all I have.
Any board listening sessions?
Oh, board listening, sorry, board listening sessions is actually next Donahue at City Hall at 6 p.m. and then Princeton October 12th at 5 p.m. and then McCausland November 14th at 5:30, and they were nice enough to kind of move theirs around so that we wouldn't get there too early and people could get there. So I think they delayed their start typically an hour or a half hour for us, so.
All right.
Thank you.
Anything else for Joe?
The
All right.
diversity meeting is not this week, right?
No.
You've scheduled-
Yeah, I had to reschedule
Okay.
it, yes, thank you.
All right, board comments, correspondence.
I have a few. First of all, I know that I had an ISB board meeting last week where they went through the priorities, and it was 8 pages long with 11 bullet points. And I said good luck on that, but it had a lot of the one that we used to have for last year still back on, even though it didn't go through, about wraparound services or more services for early childhood. And so it was interesting to hear how that all went about, because there's a LRC that gets together and there are other board members, and they come in and they talk about priorities. And listening to our president-elect talk about, he ran the meeting, he says it was about the first hour was just trying to get through little things and try to focus on what they really wanted to do. And they actually came through with a nice set of priorities. Again, well, I don't know if you're gonna plan on going to the delegate assembly on Wednesday. I know you did last year, so just wanted to make certain. Because I may be up on stage doing something, I don't know, not song or dance.
Well, then we'll all be.
But may have some other duties. Anyhow, it was very good. I think they've done a nice job getting that list together, and they have kind of worked with SAI and the ISEA as well. So here again, it'll be interesting to see how that goes with this year's legislation. The other thing I'd like to bring up, they mentioned we had a gal that does more of our website stuff, and for new school board members and even current members, on the ISB website, there are current webinars out there that are free to any school board member or new member if they want to take a look at. So I'm just saying that's an avenue, and I was going to make sure, Joe, you had it, so we can make certain Stephanie has it and Carrie has it, so they can take a look at what's out there for ISB, so just bring that up.
Frank, did they happen to say anything about open enrollment deadline?
They said that we'd like to, I think there was a
Was there a
point that they
okay.
would like to have a, some reference as to open enrollment for
Yeah.
budgeting purposes, and that's really what it's for, school districts. So,
Yes, yeah. So Brian Strews and I met with Gary Moore last Friday, had a really good meeting with him, put a document together for him so he can go back to the Capitol and talk to some people in education and explain why it's important. And there's an ESSA deadline already because the state needs to plan accordingly, and I would hope there'd be some movement this year to get that. Because it would be
The
so
other thing-
nice to
yeah.
go back to a March. Now, I don't know if it can be
Right.
that early, but
Probably not.
anytime, but not having a deadline makes it really difficult.
And the other thing that they brought up, I remember, is they want some accountability for the ESAs.
Mhm.
You know, right now, apparently, there's a third party that is supposed to be watching that, the money being spent and how is it being spent. So.
Yeah,
we'll
that's
see
the
how
one
that
that we
goes.
don't know either, is how many of our students who live in our district are getting the ESSA.
Right.
Because we could get $1,200 for everyone who took it. But I don't know of any database that's showing us what that number is yet.
So there's a
I would
lot of
assume come
discussion.
count day or
Yeah.
budget, it must pop up. And I assume the money's for this year, but.
There was a lot of discussion on that thing.
You can also, I mean, anybody who files for private school transportation, I'm assuming they're getting it too. That would be one place
Yeah.
for us to look.
They could, yeah.
Right. The only other thing outside of it, that's a ISB, I had the opportunity, I probably took it, the gate was open, and I went and took a look at the softball field, and they were taking the press box off of the trailer and putting it on in the road, and I walked around and eventually Scott came up, he was kind of looking to see what, but I had Paul Atkins with me, and we were kind of showing the facility. One thing I noticed is on the, it would be the home side dugout where they have the batting cages or the pitching facility, that the electrical boxes are up against concrete block and not in the block. So I don't know if that's done by drawings, but to me, if you got a wall and then you've got the electrical outside the wall where it could have been in the wall, I don't know if that was a after effect or not. And that's, I mean, it's nice to have it, and I understand that it's there, but I just thought it kind of looked shabby as far as I was concerned, being a Mason's son.
That's why I have this, exposed electrical boxes.
Right, so outside of
If you haven't had a
that, the
chance to get
softball,
over there, it's a beautiful.
that softball field is
Beautiful facility.
It is beautiful.
Great.
It's really nice, so.
Thanks, Frank. I do have one thing, the recognition team met last week, and we are tomorrow, if anybody's interested, 2 to 4 at the central office, we're gonna, Katie and I, and whoever, some of the ladies in there, I think are gonna volunteer, divvy up the t-shirts. The t-shirts are really cool to thank the staff this year, and we wanted to try to get them out before too far into the year goes, so we're just gonna divvy up sizes for the building. And then, we're looking at, and I can send something out to all of you, for October 9th, that PD Day, we're gonna probably do what we did a couple years ago. Was it a couple years ago?
I think it was last year.
Last year? And we'll take the shirts to that day and thank people.
Do you have a shirt cannon that you use?
No.
We already had
October
a
9th,
but I'll
misfire at the game.
And I don't know,
We'll
we
be using
think
them
about
again.
what we're gonna bring, we like to bring
I
something
think the
else like
office,
fruit.
you guys are just gonna thank the people in the office, will get them out to the, cause you only have the teachers there, the associates won't be there on that
The
day.
associates won't, but
Yeah,
some other
and so
people
there'll be
will.
some custodians,
Okay.
of course, night
Well,
people
we'll
will
talk
be
about
there, but
what we
yeah,
should do.
yeah.
Sure.
The only other option would be like American, Education Week that we recognize, that's November.
Okay.
So if it didn't work out, that would be the other one to do.
Okay.
And so, and it still might be nice to get all the board members in each building that day to even get across the intercom and
Yeah,
thank
we
all of
talked
our
about
staff.
that too.
That would be, because there's 7 of you, 7 buildings, that would be kind of neat.
Mhm.
So we should think about that when it gets closer to November.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks for doing that, Johnny.
Yeah, well, tomorrow we'll talk about it, Katie and I, and whoever can come. You can. All right. Thank
Anything
you.
else?
No?
Make a motion to adjourn.
All right,
Second.
adjourn, second, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, Chris can wait tomorrow. That looks good. Just send her off.
You know,
Yeah, generally.
even though-
Okay.